Well, let's bring in our panel of party observers now to talk about some of the key developments in the campaign today. Geoff Turner is a Liberal commentator, Ashton Arsenault is a Conservative commentator, and Anne McGrath is an NDP commentator. Good to see you all. Let's talk about the debate coming up this evening right here on CPAC. And Geoff, let me start with you. The Prime Minister's reason for skirting the debate today was to say, look, I'm having a good time meeting people out on the campaign trail in British Columbia and in Alberta, in Edmonton. But this would be a chance for him to tell Canadians where he is on some big issues: foreign affairs, the economy, Indigenous issues, the environment and energy. He claims that he's done a lot on those things. This would be a good opportunity for him to talk about that, wouldn't it? So why doesn't he want it?
I think the Prime Minister will have lots of opportunities in the coming 38 days to talk about many issues and his position on them. Let's think back to the 2015 campaign, and there's certainly before then, and including in that campaign, a long history in Canadian politics of political jockeying for campaign prominence or backroom negotiations that fall apart. What the Prime Minister, before he was Prime Minister, promised is that he would cut through that with ensuring that there was a level of debates formally put together by an independent commission. And he followed through with that commitment by appointing David Johnson, the former Governor General, unassailable character, to establish those two foundational debates, and those are what's happening, and those are being participated in. That doesn't preclude other debates from happening, but I think it's important that we have those two foundational debates.
Right, and that's what he's also said, Ashton, is look, that's why we set up the commission. A couple of things to note. Justin Trudeau was up for anybody who wanted to have a debate in the last election when he was the third party, and he's also said that I'll do the two commission debates, and that's why I don't want to do a whole lot of others, but I'll do this other one in Quebec at TVA because there's a giant audience for it. So Ashton, what do you make of that? Why do you think he's skipping this debate?
Yeah, I'll start here. Look, I've spoken with a number of Liberal partisans in and around town the last couple of days, and I'm surprised at how many of them actually told me that they're not all impressed that he's not showing up tonight. This is what I'll say. You've got three other candidates on stage vying for your job, and you're not going to show up to the job interview. That's not a tremendous look. And I think in Justin Trudeau's case, yes, he did set up this sort of consortium debate system, but everybody expected him to sort of fall short last year when he was participating in the debates, 2015. The reality is he overperformed, and now it looks like he's kind of not showing up to defend his record, and it leaves a sour taste in people's mouths.
And what do you think?
I think there is a logical inconsistency here. I mean, it's true. He was up for every debate last time, and every campaign now, it seems lately, we have this debate about the debates. It's kind of a feature of it's the timing.
Having the commission was supposed to solve that, but it's not.
It's like the timing of the writ drop and the debate about the debates are two kind of constants in Canadian politics, it seems. But it doesn't make sense to have been so open and accessible, and then. Basically, this looks like he's very counter to brand. It's not who he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be that person who is open and accessible, and his argument doesn't hold together. If you say, well, it's the consortium or the two main ones, and then you accept a third one with TVA, it doesn't make sense why he wouldn't do the one tonight. And this is early in the campaign. It's a good opportunity.
What do you say to that, Geoff?
Well, I'm just thinking about the way that you framed the question to Ashton, and the Prime Minister has, let's not forget, over the last year, done a number of town halls across the country where he was in auditoriums with quite literally thousands of
Yeah, but we're in an election
names.
campaign now. That's different than picking and choosing town halls when there's not an election cycle.
And people won't remember that.
Sure, I think the people who are at those town halls remember it because he took the tough questions and answered them and was able to communicate and show who he was as a leader. And the other leaders haven't done that over the last year. They only speak to party audiences. So I think that's an important foundational part in terms of being accessible continuously. For the debate program, as I said in my opening answer, we have two debates that have been predetermined that everybody is participating in that will be beamed to television sets across this country in both official languages. That is the baseline that is really important. And for other debates like the one tonight, this is a debate that is being hosted by a magazine, broadcast on a channel owned by the same owner as that magazine.
I'm not sure they're still connected anymore, but there's also CPAC will carry it as well. Of
course, CPAC is doing its important role in translating and putting it in French. I think it's very important, and I commend you for doing it. But that is a limited audience, and what is important here is ensuring that the broad audience.
Do you think it's a bigger audience than the one he'll have in Edmonton tonight?
Well, he'll have a local audience in Edmonton. And there'll be lots of
Wouldn't he have a bigger audience tonight on a stage talking about foreign affairs and Indigenous issues and energy and pipelines?
An audience that is limited to the viewership of that television channel.
More than he'll have in a hall tonight in Edmonton?
Well, I mean, the numbers of people on TV versus the number in the hall, but
Yeah,
he's
I'm
also...
going to guess that's true. But
Yeah, but also he's out west, as you noted off the top, and that is the other side of this country, and they have a plan, and they're following that plan.
Okay, Ashton?
Yeah, I think Geoff is doing a better job at explaining the Prime Minister's absence than the Prime Minister himself is. The campaign has chalked this up to logistics, which absolutely nobody on the trail believes, and I think it is a big missed opportunity for the Prime Minister to prove his bona fides against his main competitors tonight.
But what does he, I suppose, what does he gain by being there? If you're Justin Trudeau, why do I need to go to this debate? The others have been scheduled. I'll pick and choose the ones I want. A Prime Minister can do that, I guess.
Yeah, he absolutely can, but the spotlight's on him. He's the big fish whenever he rolls up to a debate, and the reality is he'd probably have the most airtime, the most time to explain what his vision is for Canadians for the next 4 years. And again, this is like a job interview, and the Prime Minister himself is not showing up.
This was an important moment in the last campaign. I think it was the first opportunity that people had to see him. He had been almost written out, not quite, but people were saying that it would be a miracle if he was able to show up, kind of fully dressed and ready to go. And people really didn't
one
have
of
a
the
lot
Conservatives tried. If he shows up with his pants on, he'll
exactly.
Yeah.
They were very low expectations.
And they got surprised. He did.
That's right.
He did better than most people thought.
He did a fine job, and so that begs the question of why he wouldn't show up this time.
Well, what's the answer?
I think that they have a bit of a dilemma right now because they have the person that ran the last time isn't the same in many ways he's a different person now.
Right.
He's been in government.
He's got a record.
He's got a record. He's made some decisions. He's got things he's got to defend. So he's no longer that kind of fresh-faced, kind of almost anti-politician that is kind of ready to take on the status quo and to say what needs to be said and all of those kinds of things. He's got a different way that he has to campaign this time.
But to Jeff's point, he'll still face
him.
all of those things in the two. Fair to say, I think the two larger debates put on, sponsored by the Commission. None of that will change when he gets to those debates.
No, but I don't think that that's what he wants the story of this campaign to be. I think he is avoiding this debate, and he may also have some, I think not logistical, but I don't think that the moderator has necessarily been his best friend over the last few years, and so I think that there could be something there as well. But all this to say, I think it's a mistake on their part. I understand the reasons. I even can accept some of them, but I think it's a mistake on the part of the campaign.
I'll come back to you in a second, John. But so what's the risk for the other party leaders? Is there any risk? I mean, they're going to be talking. I'm guessing what we're going to see is everybody else taking shots at Justin Trudeau is not there. Mm-hmm. What's the value of that?
Well, I think that there is value in terms of risk. The risk is that people will not pay as much attention.
Right.
I think, right? And you're kind of fighting against the person who's not there. So that is hard to do.
I mean, I think we might see a clash of there'll be clash of ideas between the three people who are on the stage too.
Clear
so
policy differences. Absolutely.
That's a value for people watching that want to be able to pick between those as well.
That's right. The other value is that except for Elizabeth May, the other two haven't run in a federal. They haven't run as the leaders of a federal campaign before.
It's a chance to get their feet wet.
Absolutely, it's a chance to get their feet wet. It's a chance to try things out a little bit. It's an opportunity for people to see them for in many cases the first time.
Okay, Geoff, let me switch gears here. Another big issue on the campaign today, and that's the abortion issues back. This video of a Conservative candidate in Toronto who's an anti-abortion activist. A video posted to social media by a Liberal Cabinet Minister, Carolyn Bennett. And this has been happening. Now, Liberals are putting out these videos about, calling into question where Conservatives really stand on this issue of abortion, whether it would be reopened again under Conservative government. How much of this are we going to see? Do you think Liberals are actively working now to keep digging up these videos and keep sending them out there, and is that okay?
Every campaign actively works to dig up everything they can possibly find on their opponents, and the latest edition of that obviously is social media in the last couple of campaigns, and this video is no exception to that. I would imagine all parties have banks of videos or content on other candidates, and it's their discretion as to when they release that or how they use it. In this particular case, I think you've characterized it correctly in the video itself. The other thing that came out shortly after that video that I saw circulating was the organizing efforts coming out of a pro-life coalition that she was a part of, saying we need to get her nominated. Let's donate some money to her. Let's get door knockers out
She was
for her
asked
to
about
sign
that
up.
today and said she'd had no connection. I would say Right Now, I think, is the group, and she said I've had no contact. I think she said with Right Now, but
Well, according to that email, they were raising her thousands of dollars and sending
may well
volunteers to her office to get her nominated, and I'm sure they're doing the same in the campaign. But what this drives at is that the Conservative Party hasn't been able to walk the line on this, have they? They haven't been able to say, what do we actually think about this? They're trying to hold this line of, well, we're not going going to formally open anything, but we'll let our backbenchers do whatever they want, and then we'll all vote on it the way that we feel like. That means if we're the government and a backbencher brings that kind of bill forward, they're going to pass it. And that's what they're not recognizing when they're trying to dance this weird line out of the leader.
Ashton, what do you say?
That's patently false. I disagree with everything you just said. Andrew Scheer has actually been pretty clear on this topic. He said that, yes, he will allow members of parliament to bring the issues forward that is representative of their ridings, and as a government, he will spike them down. He will tell his cabinet to spike them down. I don't understand.
You have a free vote for his cabinet.
You can have a free vote on issues of conscience, but he said he would not let it pass as government. He said
the government wouldn't introduce it. That is a different thing.
Geoff, he said he would not.
Does
let
he
it
need
pass
to?
as
Does he
government.
need to say to Canadians, free votes on lots of stuff, private members' bills can come forward, and so on. Nothing on abortion. That's the message to caucus.
No, I don't. I think he's been clear enough on this issue, and of course, Liberals will keep dredging up these videos. I expect it for the next 30
But as long
days.
as there's this, and what do you think? As long as there's the idea that backbenchers can bring forward motions or bills that may reopen the abortion debate, they can do it. But he's saying it won't get past that.
Right.
But is that still a problem?
Well, it is a problem. I mean, they can do it, and they will if the anti-choice movement is successful and has been successful in nominating a number of candidates that'll commit to that. Then that is a problem, and this is always a problem for the Conservatives. And
So
it's gonna be a
the
problem
math
in
on
this
this. So
campaign.
they'd have to stack a conservative government with enough
Which has been
pro-life
done.
people that would be able to vote down to pass legislation to reopen the abortion debate.
That's right. That's right. I mean, there's two things here. One is the Liberals are very good at this stuff. Kudos to them. They're very good at this stuff. Their war room is exceptional at digging up dirt on their opponents, and they use it effectively. And I think in this case, they have used it effectively. Second thing is the abortion issue is going to dog the Conservative campaign all the way through. It has, it has at the provincial level. It has in previous federal election campaigns. It is an issue for them, and it's a hard one to explain. Because it's it's complicated. It's a complicated answer, and they can't
And yet
come out
provincial
and just-
conservative governments keep getting elected. People are still voting for them.
Yes, and
So I guess that's what's out there for the voter. What does it really mean when I see these videos? How do I interpret that? Is abortion going to be back on the agenda, or is it not? If Andrew Scheer
It
wins
means
government?
they're saying one thing to a portion of their base, and they're saying another thing publicly. And if you want to talk about provincial governments, let's think back to Patrick Brown winning the PC leadership in Ontario. Did so significantly with support from the social conservative movement on things like sex ed, on things like LGBT rights, on things like abortion, saying things that they wanted to hear, getting him across the finish line. And then when he got across the finish line, he changed his stripes and caused quite a lot of turmoil and had Tanya Granick-Allen chasing him down in the leadership, et cetera. I think we've seen the same thing here. The difference is Andrew Scheer is not Patrick Brown. I don't think people see in Andrew Scheer that he actually might, in fact, live on the pro-choice side of the equation. They know he is solidly on the non-pro-choice side of the equation, and the commitments of maybe not doing things is not good enough for Canadians.
What about that, Ashton? Can you say this is what I'll do as this gets into that whole personal opinion debate? Can you say as a man who wants to be prime minister, my personal views are my personal views, but I'll make sure I stop this I'll check this debate if I'm in government. This will not reopen the abortion debate. Can you get away with that?
Yeah, I think Andrew Scheer has been clear on one thing. Unlike other parties, he's not going to stifle duly elected members of parliament with respect to bringing issues forward that their constituents care about. What he has said is very clearly, if you bring forward whether it be a private member's bill or maybe a member's motion on this particular subject, I will spike it down and I will instruct my cabinet
and I guess
to do
that
just the
raises the
same.
whole. Then what's the value of that process? I guess in the broader sense,
Well,
what's the value of saying to people you'll be allowed to bring forward those ideas that you think are important, but they're not going anywhere? Welcome to caucus.
Yeah, no, that is very kind of a weird position. I think what's interesting here, to be honest, is that what the Liberals want this campaign to be about is Andrew Scheer and the Conservatives on abortion. What the Conservatives want this campaign to be about is Justin Trudeau and the SNC-Lavalin issue. So you can see both of those being played out already on the first and now the second day of this campaign. I think what Canadians really want to talk about is how we protect our healthcare system, how we expand our healthcare system, how we get better and more affordable housing in the country, how we tackle climate change. And while these are very important issues, and I agree with that, I think that the way that they're being played out in this campaign is a disservice to the voters who want to make a decision about what kind of parliament they'll have.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.